parents should allow their teenagers to have a not necessarily an abundance of privacy, but a really healthy amount. Because I think that when you are growing up and you are a teenager, trust is definitely pivotal to making those relationships work.
Privacy is earned, in that if I don't feel like there's any red flags or any reason for me to invade your privacy or your space, if there's a certain level of trust that's happening, then I'll give you all sorts of privacy. But as soon as I feel like I'm concerned or I'm worried or you may be circling with the wrong group of friends, then I start snooping.
Trust is used as such a blanket term. Do you trust them or not? And the fact of the matter is we trust them a lot, and sometimes we don't. And usually that's based on information that we have that we shouldn't trust them. So I think that's true for all parenting and certainly true for media. We should not trust a fifth grader 100% when they get the smartphone or when they're online. Why would they? They have no competency building on making good judgments on it. So it should be you crawl, you walk, you run. You show some ability as you get more and more freedom on the net. And based on that level of responsibility demonstrated, you shouldn't snoop. You should give them trust. And based on an infraction, then you pull it back a little. I had this one week in my practice where I had 3 sixth graders get in. They had attention deficit. They were risk takers. They're wild boys. They'll probably be very successful entrepreneurs when they grow up. Doesn't say anything about their future, but they were wild guys. And in each case, the parents had given a lot of freedom. Each case, they took back the smartphone. They gave them a dumb phone, and their lives went so much better for the next 6 months. They were sixth graders. It was appropriate to pull it back and be top down for those particular teenagers. And I think on some level, at least 2 out of the 3 were actually grateful that they knew they couldn't handle the power of that, wild, wild west. Now, I wouldn't do that with a high schooler. I would want to make an agreement on it. But snooping should be I don't even like to call it that. I call it monitoring. To monitor and have spot checks and look at their Instagram, look at their social media, have their passwords is very appropriate, and it should be a very open agreement with a 5th and 6th grader. Then, as they show they can handle it, you should have no policy of snooping unless that's part of the agreement. And if you have reason to do that, then you should not be defensive. You should just say, based on your track record, this is my pitch. If you want this freedom, then you'll let me do that. And often those kids do need knowing that somebody's looking over their shoulder, and they will take less risks. So it's good policy. And then at some point, they get a little bit more room to move, and until they have another infraction, you should give them that trust and let them enjoy that, making mistakes and so forth. Now, parents will often say to me, but listen, one false move, they make a threat of somebody online and they're expelled. I understand that, or the fear of cyberbullying with certain people. So it's never risk-free. These children can lack in judgment, can be impetuous, and they can make one false move and get in big trouble with sexting and so forth, which is so understandable with one moment of a lapse of judgment, and it can change things. On the other hand, they do need to practice having more freedom. So it's just going to be this cost-benefit risk analysis that every parent makes about what feels right to me right now with this 6th grader, 7th grader, 12th grader, and so forth.